Well, I want to get into uh, the spiritual healing right now. And the well, first of all, I want to mention that my biography says that I'm an internationally known healer, intuitive, author, ordained priest who was born in Chicago, etc. And at the age of 20, Mark was given a profound gift that dramatically transformed his life and also purpose forever. Well, uh, this is where all that stuff, it just doesn't matter anymore. It just does not matter. It's kaput. It's history, and I've learned in my life not to dwell in the past, and I'm still learning. So that stuff has no importance in my life anymore. And from that moment on, it just doesn't matter. And uh, from each major awakening that's ever happened with me or anyone really, that was the end of it. Those were just moments that we could identify with. And that's just the way we are. There was a change that throughout any profound gift that we have or I've had, or say, for instance, with me, I can speak about, uh, there's always a change from that moment where we're no longer a part of that event, even though it's ingrained within us from experience into knowing, into wisdom, or the experiential of our life. So I don't care how profound anything is, let it die. Just like the old cliche, where it says, if you see Buddha on the road, kill him. And it's the same thing, because the old doesn't matter anymore. It just doesn't pertain to us anymore because we've grown since. I went through an initiation of priesthood, and so that's nice. But that was just an identification of something from my soul that needed to fulfill, because it's happened with me many other times in my past. So it's just a programmed enlightenment for the moment. But then what? And it's the same thing with a profound gift. Big deal. Everyone has this ability, and it's out the door from then on. And now they're meaningless because we're constantly in growth. We're constantly in evolution in our lives, and we can't live in the past with all these things or experiences. I mean, they're nice, but they're oftentimes identifications for us. And so if we can get out of the identifications, then we can get more into ourself and learning how to listen to ourselves. These things were necessary for me to grow, of course, but they're not the final results. That's the past, and I can't live in the past and hold the potentiality of that is coming because of that, if I live in the past. And it's always the beginning of a new story. So we would be telling the same story of being in these things and not ever knowing what more our source has to share with us. And we have this source that awakens us to these moments of spiritual experience in our lives. It's just like in the olden days, we had the Pharisees and Sadducees, and of course they had a purpose, but at the same time they also developed into, woe is me, feed me, give me all your money, I need to fulfill God's will, they would say, or whatever it is, or I'm the holy one, and treat me as such. And it became old pattern, And because they didn't know what to do with their position, their office that they held as a Sadducee or Pharisee. And so otherwise, that's what we're turning into if we rely strictly on the old spiritual experience. And so, we are the spiritual experience. I think that as we listen to what is said and question to see if it has the message that applies to you and what you may have thought of previously, or are or will be experiencing, it can be helpful to you to get through situations or life. But we're learning to listen and to wonder about things. That's our place. That's what we're here to learn to do. That's going to be, that is, I should say, and going to be our basis for all evolution of ourself. And that's what we're striving for in life. That's why we have all the questions. That's why we have all the turmoils, is to share with us, to show us that, all right, when everything else has failed, we are literally empty. But now, in that emptiness, we have the ability to be saved in ourselves, in a sense, by saying, okay, boss, okay, God, okay, Yahweh, what do I do now? I have nothing. That's when our answer comes, because we're stripped from all the turmoil. We have nothing. And we have nowhere else to go, no other recourse. So here we are, being empty, and that's when something, in a sense, saves us. That's what we're looking for in life, without the dramatics or the traumatics of all else failed. It's getting to the place where we're not complacent. And in that complacency of saying, okay, I got my prayer answer, I can go back to who I am or what I was, and I can, be whatever way I want to be. The idea is to go back and remember that desire for need. That's when that small, still voice within, as the old mystics used to refer to it, that small, still voice within begins to share again when we're in that need. And also when we're in the, what do you call it? I guess need is the best word I can come up with right now, that, that desire to want to know more, or to have more given to us out of need. And as we subject ourselves to wanting more, I'm referring to understanding this thing inside through the big S, the big self, not the little one, but the big one, realizing how important it is in our life and what it has to share with us. Then we find all these other things that are given to us that we've needed, but they'll be in a more perfect way than what we could conjure up in our heads, in our thinkings, or our analyzing, or critiquing, or judgings, or anything else. So as we develop into coming to our source, whatever it is, the universal mind, God, Yahweh, as we develop that, that's when we find ourselves being a part of the spirituality that's already there, waiting for us to experience the true spirituality. Not the spirituality that we talk about, but the true spirituality that's embedded within us, waiting to share, not only with ourselves, this mind, this super subconscious mind that's within us that wants to share with us, that's intelligent and conscious in its way. And we find that, oh my God, there's this living entity within me, and it's God, what some people might refer to, or source, or universal mind, or whatever. But it's there, and it's waiting for us so that it can share. And the more often we go to that place of need for it, the more often and more expansive the information is, or the givings from it. And when I talk about givings, we find that something that we might have needed physically in our lives, as we're going to this, our source, and recognizing how real it is, then those things are set up for us in our life, around us, with the right people, right place, right situations, right town, right country, right continent. Everything's set up and created in a more perfect way in our lives, because we're coming to it willingly, but the desire has to be there. And say if you're working with people or situations in your life around you, in healing or whatever, then something unique happens. Say if we normally want to share with people or we don't know how to share with people, either case, of what's happening in their life, then we still, in some uncanny way, are able to express where they might feel better through touch or through words, in helping them to relate. Sometimes it takes stillness and not saying anything to let them express. But you're giving a message, regardless whether it's silent, by listening to them with all your heart, or touching them. That's the message. But then, after a while, as we practice going to that source within, a really neat thing happens is that we're not giving a message anymore of someone else's words or expressions that we might have, identified with. We become the message, which is really different. We become the message, and we're allowing that source within us to express itself. We're no longer giving a message, we become it. That's what we're striving for in our lives. That's when we have that union for those moments. That's what we're doing, all the spirituality, what it's about. We become the message. How cool. But what happens, it only, might last for a minute, 5 minutes, or less, rarely more. But we find that the spirituality, the true spirituality, is in our life for that time, even beyond our expectations unrealized. But it's more perfect when it comes forth from us. But what we're doing in life normally is trying and scrapping in desperations and needs in order to find it. We go through these experiences in order to find that within us. Very important. Then we get to recognize it in those moments that we are in need, whether it be emotionally, physically, or whatever. And the needs might be real subtle, or they might be real dramatic in our lives. And we need to lose control where we have no control. That's what it's about. So we don't have to do it so dramatically as far as woe is me, I'm going crazy, or I'm losing everything. We don't have to go through that necessarily, but we have those times so that we can recognize this, recognize our understandings, our belief systems, whatever. We have those times that are literally made for us and handed to us on a golden platter for us to integrate, to find that out. We notice, as we begin to notice, little inklings of spirituality's possibilities, usually in the moments of our wonderments or revelations. This becomes a spiritual moment for us. And it only lasts for moments. But they're there to share with us, to show us that there's something waiting for us. This is the spirituality in your life. This is what this is about. That's what all spirituality is really about, no matter what the name of the course or what anyone is teaching. I don't care if they can teach levitation, God bless them. But, it's still finding that out, because it wouldn't happen without that understanding from within you that comes forth to share with you, or becoming invisible or whatever, or breathing in the water. I don't care. It's all spiritual, the true spirituality of that, of finding this inside and being on that path. Doesn't mean that you have to be perfect in that, because no one is. As I joke with everyone, show me the perfect person, I'll follow them anywhere. But we have to find that searching, the ability to search for that inside. That's what spirituality is about, finding that. Then we find a union that happens for moments. But the more we are striving for that union, the blending of the physical and the spiritual, and what we call spiritual, as we strive to wonder about it, to seek it inside, that's when it takes over for those times. And the more we practice it, the more often it takes over, and those times last a little bit longer. That's what spirituality is about. That's the purpose of your life, to find that out. We can talk about so-called reincarnation. It's great. I don't believe in it, but I do believe in God, and I know in God all those things are possible. But we wouldn't have the experience of so-called reincarnation unless, well, let me back up a minute. We wouldn't have that, and it wouldn't exist unless it was to know ourselves. That's the purpose of it. Why else would it be? What other rhyme or reason if it wasn't to get to know ourselves? That's why we're here. That's why we're going through these experiences. So if we can separate ourselves from the dilemmas and dramas and traumas that I always talk about, if we can separate ourselves, then we become objective and observant, and there's less reaction. And the less drama and trauma there is. And the idea is to let go of ourselves gently, without, holding on to those dramas and traumas. We have all these things happening with us in our lives since birth, but many of them are what we're taught. And so we're going to react in those ways that we were taught, consciously and unconsciously, as we witnessed or experienced or read or whatever. Those things were embedded in us in patterns, but the patterns, the more conscious we are of those patterns, then they have less effect on us, and we can go forward in our lives. Otherwise, we're like the Sadducees and the Pharisees, saying, woe is me. This has happened with me in my life. No difference. No difference. All right, one last thing I'd like to I want to ask, please raise your hand if you've had spiritual experiences, please. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, great, great. Everyone's had spiritual experiences. All right, I'm curious, can you tell me how long did the actual spiritual experience last without, up until the time you became conscious of an experience happening? How, tell me, Patty, please.
Um, oh gosh, I'm zoning out. Yes, Mark, I've had several, but it's like little snippets. Sometimes they're longer and sometimes they're just, and then they're done.
All right, and is it fair to say, hypothetically, I'm going to use you right here. I don't apologize, but I'm not sorry. But at the same time,
It's okay.
all right, and Patty knows me from thousands of workshops. um, but is it fair to say, if I give you the benefit of the doubt here, that they average, say, around 10 seconds each?
Yes, I would say
Okay.
that's a good guess. Yeah,
Okay.
a good reality.
Okay. So, say hypothetically they last 10 seconds each on an average. And usually people will have them between 2 and 10 seconds. And so, how many times a week do you have those? I'm curious.
I don't, the more I meditate and go into silence, the more they become realistic in my life,
Okay. So,
if that makes sense.
so approximately how many times in a week we have them about?
Oh, dear Lord. I don't pay attention. I really don't. I'm just happy when they come.
Okay. All right. I understand you. Hey, I hear you. And so,
Maybe three a week. Then sometimes a week goes by, I don't feel it. And then I go back a week after that. I go, oh yeah, that really was good last week. So,
okay, good.
you know.
All right. So 10 times 3, that's 30. 30 seconds
30
in a week.
Yeah, 30 seconds, yeah.
Okay. 30 seconds in a week. That's awesome. All right. So say hypothetically 30 seconds in a week times 52. You're talking maybe about 1,560 seconds in a year. What happens in all those other times besides those 1,560 seconds? So we have this golden opportunity, which is my main point here, this golden opportunity to know that, oh my God, I'm only doing 1,560 seconds a year in spiritual experience, and the rest is talking about it or hearing about it through other people's understandings what a spiritual experience might be, which isn't yours, but it's theirs. That's what they needed. And then they start to change the story after they told it enough. So there may not be a reality to that part. And that's just the way it is. So we have this golden opportunity to realize, okay, I've had 1,560 seconds of spiritual experience. And if we can realize that, then something inside of us wants to share more with us. If we can be conscious of that during the day, just for more times being conscious of it purposefully, then doors are beginning to open from within us that will share more with us and more often. Does all this make sense? Please, and Roz, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a question because actually we were told, or I mean, I think, that a spiritual experience is only something you have when you're meditating or when you're or when you're in a group. But really what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can have a spiritual experience when you're washing the dishes,
When we're washing dishes or taking a shower, all of a sudden we have an aha moment.
Yeah.
That's a spiritual experience. It may last only for less than a second, but we'll get tons of information. And the
But how
more
do we-
conscious we are of it, wait a second now, the more conscious we are of it, of having that 1 second or 3 seconds or 5 seconds of aha moment, if we stop ourselves and take a look at what we just saw in that aha moment, the more expansive the information becomes to us, the more we realize that we did see that we didn't know we saw.
Yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying, but maybe my question after this, I mean, I understand what you're getting at.
Such a limitation. What a limitation it is to think that only when we're meditating or whatever.
Of course, that's a limitation, but then when we do have that aha moment, and what you said was it's very short, how do we translate that, or how do we incorporate that?
Great question. By wondering about what did I just see? Show me, go over again what you can remember, what you saw, and then more pieces as you practice that. And it takes practice. More pieces will come together, more understandings, more visuals.
Okay.
They'll keep coming more as you practice that.
Okay.
Because that is the spiritual experience. That's the spiritual exercise that develops more from within us and helps us. When I talk about developing more, that's an evolutionary thing where we get to see what's being shared with us. That's evolution. And we don't even have to do anything, just to wonder about it. But we have to wonder from our heart, and it's like aching for something, or even as an analogy that I always give, you might be in a room of your house or outside or somewhere else, and all of a sudden you smell a scent. You don't know what it is. And you keep wondering, what is that? What is that? What is that? And your mind will go back through your history of this time and trying to figure out what it is. But it's the same thing. You're controlling the mind to give it direction. And more is going to be shared with you. You keep, as long as you're wondering, what is this scent? And you keep wondering, you try to figure it out inside. You're going deeper and deeper and deeper when you're wondering. That's your answer. That's the spiritual experience that'll be unique to you, different from everyone else, but you'll have it, that you'll be able to relate it in an understanding within yourself, which can later be expressed when someone else might be in need, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Good question. Good question. Yes. Sue, any questions, my dear? Turn on your mic. Turn on your mic. There you go.
I think I'm okay. I got it.
Anyone else, please, please, please. And
So if you're, is it the case that they're always happening? It's like synchronicities. Like if you're not aware of it, it'll just fly by you. But the opportunity to touch it is there.
The opportunity to always touch it is available to us. And as far as always being there, no. They're there more
We have to
often we
call
see.
it.
They're
So-
there more often we see.
Yeah.
And they'll happen maybe, I've counted up to 200 or 500 times in a day,
Mhm,
where we're becoming aware of something.
mhm.
And it's really cool when you can, when you're in the frame of mind to want to catch it and be conscious of it. And one way to do that is to start fresh, like say tonight, I would, and I've done this before too, at night when I'm going to sleep or in the early morning hours, as I'm going to sleep, that I would picture myself waking up the next morning just so happy knowing that I'm going to start to catch these moments more and more, and I'm going to watch them flood into me. It's picturing that inside of you, setting up a new pattern for that to happen. It's a gift that we can do, that we can utilize.
I swim every day, and I'm finding that it's a time that's become very spiritual. Like, I'll ask a question. I mean, as long as I let go of the thoughts.
Yes, exactly.
If I go into it asking a question or
Precisely.
wanting something, you know, I'm just swimming, and it will appear.
That spirituality in your life, waiting to be discovered more often. And we can take that swimming and say if you're swimming, what you have available to you, know that, okay, I'm swimming, or I'm doing some activity, or I'm doing this and I have those, or I'm always in the shower having them, or I'm doing the dishes and I'm having them. If they're being had that way, then play with it.
Right.
And imagine doing other things. You're setting up a pattern to do that, and it'll fulfill. All right, everyone, I am so thankful. Linda, thanks for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm just so thankful. And next time will be, what's next? Tomorrow's, please ask your questions, either email them to me, Lynn will give the information, and on the sidebar, is that correct, Lynn? Can you do that? And
Put it in the chat.
yeah, she'll put it in the chat. And also the website under that, the information. And anyone's interested in an appointment, let me know. I have some availabilities at any time. I'll work it out with you to get you in on the right time of day. We can do Zoom call appointments, or we can do FaceTime, or we can do telephone appointments. All right, my dear friends, blessings to you, and thank you so much for being here. And watch for the replay on this, either in YouTube or on my Spiritual Healing with Mark Ehrlich's Facebook page, community page.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Blessings,
Mark.
everyone. Thank you, Ellen, for being here. Everyone, Patty,
Thank
Sue, Rob,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ethel, Mike,
Thank you.
bye, Apprentice.
Bye, everyone.